I don't want you to stress out about it. We're really happy to have you, and that's the most important part. And if we can, if we get a chance to see you at some point, that'll be awesome. And if not, then I'll look for a picture of you to share with everyone.
Oh, I'll send them some good ones. Don't you worry.
Okay, so take a deep breath, because you have a lot of talking to do. So I hope you have some water with you, because we have a lot of questions for you, and I have a lot of stuff to talk to you about, because I think you're of all the people who we're going to have talk this semester. I think of all the people who were having speak this semester, you're the closest in age to our students. So
thank you for making me feel so young.
Well, you are so young. So to introduce you, Allie Hoffman is the co-founder of Chaos Swimwear. She and her friend and partner in the business, Tess, started Chaos when they were 23, and Chaos went on to become one of the biggest brands in the swimwear industry, with major celebrities who wear the brand, including the Kardashians, the whole Kardashian Jenner clan. It's been sold at Revolve. It's been sold. Well, she'll tell you all of the stores. I can't remember all of them, but really a tremendous boom success story. And so I think she has a lot to tell you guys in terms of what she did and how she got there. So Allie, I think let's start with that. Let's go with, when you started the brand, were you just out of school, or did you have a little bit of time between graduating and the next step?
So actually, when I started Chaos, I still had 2 quarters. So I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in LA. Most everyone knows it as FITM. And when Tess and I decided to move forward and create a brand, her and I both had multiple internships under our belt. But at that point, I was still in school. I still had 2 quarters left, and Tess had just graduated. So through the whole first year of Chaos, and kind of our most insane, and quick launch, I guess launch to success, I was still in school. So I was nannying full time because we weren't making any money. So I still had to have a job. And I was going to school full time, trying to just knock all that out and not get discouraged. And then also running a rather successful business. The day that the same month that I graduated, we had 4 of the 5 Kardashian Jenner sisters wear Chaos. And it was just I was I can't even get out of bed because I don't know what I'm supposed to do, because I have so much to do that I would rather just hide from the whole world, because I was so scared. I was I have to go to school. I have to go to work. I have to launch this brand. And I had so many people calling me hi, can we get hi, this is so-and-so from Us Weekly. Do you have a statement about Kim Kardashian wearing Chaos, post having North? I'm no, I don't know. I'm not sure. So I was terrified, because I didn't know what to say. I was so young and I was so new to the industry that I was just not uncertain, and I was just scared of my own success. So long answer. Long answer.
No, I mean, I'm still in school. It's amazing. There's so much to unpack in that answer.
I know.
So so the first thing I want to ask about that is, how did you and Tess decide that you wanted to do swimwear? Was that immediately something that the two of you had decided that you were interested in doing because you were from LA, or was it, was that a passion of yours?
No, it was not. I didn't care essentially what we did. I wanted to I wanted to be my own boss. I had internships at Free People at LF stores. My brother works for MTV, so I was interning as a stylist at MTV, and I was like, oh, these people, man, like I just want to work for myself. So Tess really wanted to do swim, and she's like, I'm kind of looking for somebody who is a little bit more like business minded, and like I think you'd be a really great fit. Do you have any like desire to go into swimwear? And I was like, okay, cool. So we just like kind of fit. I like didn't have like Tess has like this love and undying passion for swimwear, which like I do now too. But in the beginning, I didn't. And that was like I learned to love the industry. I just knew I wanted to be my own boss, and I wanted to have the creative freedom and not have anybody holding me back in that specter.
So with that, what kind of classes did you take at fashion school? What was your major? What did you study?
Um, my major was visual communications, which basically has nothing to do with fashion design. Um, we definitely did like a lot of portfolio planning and building, and like creating small businesses like for, like projects and whatnot. But most who are my major go into like set design and video display, things like that. It's not a very hands-on, or it's very hands-on, but more like artsy rather than fashion. And Tess was
And
merch
how
marketing.
and so then how did the two of you meet and decide to partner?
We met through her roommate, and I were friends, and we just like had the mutual acquaintance, and then would like occasionally see each other, and then it just kind of, I don't know, it feels like so long ago. I guess we were just chit-chatting about it. I don't even remember. But I do like Tess and I were just acquaintances. Like I didn't know much about her. She didn't know much about me, other than we just had like the one thing in common was that we wanted to start our own brand, and we like let that be the guide to kind of the rest of it. Like we want to have our own brand. We don't want to work for somebody. We're going to do this. Like we're not going to like get to like we're going to finish school. We're going to keep working. Like we know this isn't going to be easy. And lo and behold, we somehow managed to be very successful at a young age.
So let's go into like some of the, real world aspects of that. How did you get the seed money? Because, it's not an inexpensive venture. And, if you're going to start a brand, you definitely need to have some, startup money.
Yeah. So when we decided to do this, I like will know, like we were sitting, so like our first like business meeting, we were sitting at like a coffee bean in Santa Monica, and we're like, okay, like let's make an Instagram, like that's free. Okay, so like what else can we do that's not going to cost us any money? And then Tess was like, okay, like how much money do you want to put in? And so like we were like talking about it, and we're like, all right, like if we each put in like $500, we could like get a few things done. So we each like were like, okay, $500. So then we made labels, and we're like, well, if we make labels, then like we're a real brand, right? Like you just have to start with something. So we did that, and then we went down to the fashion district and bought like a roll of white fabric, and we're like, okay, well now we have like the main piece to creating swimwear. And then we found a pattern maker and went through that. And her and I just like paid cash for all of those things. And like we made this promise to each other, which is something that I like to tell people often, like when they ask about like entrepreneurship and like what's one thing that you're really happy, or like what's one like a piece of advice, is that everybody has an opinion. So for Tess and I, we're like, if we want to do this, I was like, I'm not telling anybody. I'm not telling my parents. I'm not telling my brother. I'm not telling my friends until I have something to show for it. Because the more people you tell, the more negativity you're going to hear. So we spent our own money and we built out like a few styles, which is like our Hampton, which is like our Hampton Salty, which is like our number one tried and true. Everybody loves it. Looks great on multiple body styles and types. And then a few other styles. I forget what they were. And then at that point, we're like, okay, well, like, let's start telling people. So then we started telling people, and we're kind of like building our website on our own and whatnot. And then when it got to the point where we needed money, we both went to our parents and asked to take out a loan, and both of our parents agreed. And I think though, the reason that they like believed in us is because it wasn't an idea. It was already a product and we had something to show for. And they're like, what? Like, you've been doing what? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm a little secretive. So, but then it's like when we went in to ask for help and ask for money, like we were able to give like a full presentation and say, like, this is what we're doing. This is our plan. This is what we want. Like, I've been working, I've been going to school, and I've managed to do this. So, like, I think you guys should believe in me. And so, it cost, so the first or the round of money that we took was 60 grand, and it allowed us to fully launch our first season, and like really get the brand off the ground and reach out to influencers and give away a ton of products. Like, we gave away so much stuff. It's insane to think about the free products that we gave away with zero promises.
So let me just backtrack a little bit. So you came up with an entire you came up with a business plan. That was how you got the seed money from your parents.
Correct.
And just for the sake of, we don't have to go into the minutia, but let's assume it was 30,000 from each of them, something like that.
Correct.
So, and the business plan, you knew how to do that because you learned about it in school? That was like,
yes, I learned about I took an entrepreneurship class at FITM, and during this time of starting Chaos, it was the class that I was in. So I like utilized every ounce of that class and was able to create a business plan in the 10 weeks of class, and turn that into something that like was like real and like made sense, like wasn't just like thrown together. Like, it was like, I mean, I had like 3-year plans. I had like interest, like all the things that you could think of that like your parents especially are going to ask you when you're out of college, and they're like, oh, so you're going to get a job? And I'm like, no, I need you to give me money, actually.
or any investor, really, if they're going to
yeah.
invest, they need to know that this has been thought out.
Totally. So it was definitely well thought out and well planned, and that it just allowed us to really get the ball rolling.
And what about sourcing? Had you already started to look to see whether you were going to be sourcing domestically or internationally, like to get some of those price points down? Was that part of the research?
We had both decided that we wanted to produce domestically, and that we believed in our product enough that we could have a higher price point and stay and keep our products made in the USA. Also, we knew that we wanted to be able to be really hands-on and be able to go to all of our fittings and be able to stop into our manufacturer at any point of time, and that we would be able to just really see the process, rather than like, we had friends and we met some brokers that were like, oh, Bali, you have to do Bali. Oh, come to Guangzhou. Like, and we're like, I don't know. Like, just, it didn't seem like the right fit for us.
Right, because it does, there are obviously pros and cons about production in another country. It can be cheaper, but of course, if something goes wrong, it can really set you back time-wise, right? In a big way. And you don't have,
Absolutely.
and and the price to have somebody in the factory actually doing the actually making sure that the product comes out right is a whole other cost, um that somebody, that another cost differential. What
Totally. And then when we put all of those, like, all of those costs, and for us to travel overseas and for us to stay and to pay somebody, some kind of wage, it didn't really make that much sense.
Yeah.
We really weren't saving that much money. And for me, being hands-on and not having the headache of like, what's actually happening? Are they really working on our stuff? Like, is everything going okay? Like, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I get that. So just so that we clarify, you produced in LA. So it was like you could just drive there within half an hour. It was that close. It wasn't like you even produced in New York, lived in LA,
No,
produced. You were literally in the same city. That's, that was one of the great things about you guys choosing to being in LA, and there's a lot of different production with manufacturing, in LA. So you had the opportunity to really do that. Zachary, I'm going to get to your questions after we're, in a minute, but I want to, how did you guys come up with your name? Chaos is not an easy, Chaos is not an easy name. And after you tell me, I'm going to ask you whether if you had to do it again, would you have stuck with it?
Wait, I have a question for you. Do you hate the name Chaos?
It's so full transparency, Allie is
Not
also
your favorite.
it's just over the years how many people have asked me how to pronounce it.
I know. It's okay. It's okay.
It was, a learning curve.
It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Okay, so what is with the name? And
Okay, so one thing they really push on you, or I shouldn't say push on you, but one thing that you're taught at FITM, or that there is like a lot of background, I guess, on, is we look pretty heavily into how Free People, Urban Outfitters, Anthropologie, all of them do things. And they're definitely industry leaders. And with that said, I don't know if like any of you guys have worked at any of those stores or whatnot, but especially Free People does a really good job at honing in on their customer. And they have their festival girl, they have their more edgy and hip customer, they have their customer that solely shops intimates. So backtracking, when Tess and I were talking about a name, we're like, who is it that we want to be? Like, do we just want to cater to the girl that is like very just like hip, or like is she wearing, does she want functional swimwear? What is she looking for? So we couldn't decide. So we decided that we were going to come up with 3 different categories. And one would be like your skater girl. And mind you, I was born and raised in LA, and Tess was born and raised in Orange County. So for like the LA vibe is a little more like edgy, I guess. Like, I by no means would consider myself edgy whatsoever.
if you can see her, she looks like my little sister, not edgy at all.
Yeah. So, but there's like the edgy aspect of it, like the very Venice, Santa Monica feel. And then you have like this Orange County vibe, which is a little bit more like boho chic. And we also wanted to like really have some transitional pieces that like look great with jean shorts. Like, look cute with skirts, like that you could wear your top as like a bralette or brami to like Coachella. And then, but we also wanted to make sure that we were tapping in to our surfer girl, because obviously swimwear is really vital and to like get it, like we make swimwear to get into the water. So Tess created a word which would be chaos. So the K comes from skate, OH comes from boho, and the S comes from surf. And we kind of just like made it up and ran with it. And then everybody would call us chaos. And Cece has probably corrected 100 people
A million
throughout.
people.
Yes. And yeah, so if I could do it again, honestly, I probably would do something that's like not so normal, or just like something that you would hear every day, because like I don't care how you're saying it. If you're saying chaos, if you're saying chaos, if you're like asking us if like we came up with a K name because of the Kardashians, like as long as you're talking about us, I don't really care.
Right.
And I think that it like sets us apart. And if you kind of look at like the swimwear industry and our competitors, like Frankie is great because it's Francesca's name. Like Acacia is just what fit for Naomi and Lindy, like when they created the brand. Miko is something that like they like, so it's like throughout our industry leaders, none of us have like the most common name. Like it's not like Free People where you're like, okay, those are like two very easy words, or even like Urban Outfitters, like, okay, yeah, like I could pronounce that. Like a lot of the things in swimwear, you're like, what is that called? So it kind of it kind of made sense for us to have another off the rocker name.
Yeah. I think that's generational too. I mean, if I go back a second, you had Norma Kamali or Mara Hoffman that were very easy to, Victoria's Secret, which were very
Yeah, I mean,
easy to
even
say
like
names.
L Space and like things like that too, like very easy.
Right.
But
Right, vitamin A. So those were easy. That was
yes,
the generation before you, and then you guys came along, and everything was just a little harder, a little bit, a little bit harder to say. It was just more unique.
yes, I like unique.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I think that the industry was looking for that. So I agree with you. I think that that did make a big difference. So
Thanks.
yeah. All right, so you had your first samples and and you had the money to do production. You did your production in LA, and uh then what? How did you uh how did you first start growing the Instagram? What was the kind of, did you have a strategy? What did you guys do to help grow that? And then how did you decide which influencers you were going to gift? How did you guys know what to do and who to approach?
Well, Instagram 8 years ago was completely different than it is now. So it was much more easy to obtain and to like reach out to people. Like we could DM like just about any model or influencer and like get a reply right away. And like, oh yeah, here's my address, like send me whatever. So we just looked for girls that we thought like fit our aesthetic and what we were looking for. And like, it didn't matter if you had like, I don't know, like 1,000 followers or like 1,000,000 followers. And quite honestly, I don't even think that many people had a ton of like 8 years
Right.
ago. I don't think that people had these huge followings. So, and like everything was like real. Like if people posted about a brand, like you just didn't automatically assume that it's a paid post. Like everything I see now, I'm just like, okay, well, that's paid for. But that's also because I'm on the other side of the industry. So I know like the cost, and I'm like, or I'll see somebody be like, oh, I wonder how much she costs now. Or, like Rocky Barnes was really big in swim back then. And we just like DM'd her and she's like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, here's my address. And like Tess and I went and like dropped a package at her doorstep. Like it's nothing like that anymore. You reach out to somebody and they're like, let me set you up with my agent and this and that. But obviously Instagram is a business. So we just went through and we would spend our time like looking for girls that we thought fit our aesthetic and just kind of like rolled with it that way. We didn't have to put that much thought into it because Instagram again was so different.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think not just for you, but for Frankie also. I mean, it was, for a lot of the brands at that time who were coming up at that time, it was much easier because it was a very authentic reaction. The girls were
Totally.
the models at the time weren't looking to be paid. They were happy with just getting the product and they were excited to get the product.
They were so excited to get free products.
Yeah. So
and like
yeah.
being, and like I even like look back to like photo shoots we did 6-7 years ago. Like the first time we shot Sophia Jamora, she was like a baby, but we just traded her product too for like a 6-hour shoot.
Wow.
And then we shot her maybe 2.5 years ago and she cost a lot of money. And I was like, don't forget where you came from.
And so, it just is between us. So how much is a lot of money?
I mean, it's like average, like about $12,000 for someone like Sophia to shoot her for 8 hours. And that's like, in that time is like a 30-minute lunch and like 30-minute and like about an hour to do hair and makeup. So realistically only 6.5 hours. So you're making like $2,000 an hour.
Yeah, that's a decent amount of money.
And like, obviously there's tons of models that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars for photo shoots, but I'm looking for us. It's like the girls that started on Instagram as an influencer and then have totally turned this into full-blown model careers.
Yeah.
So
let's go back to where we were and go to where you were. So now, how did you get the product to the Kardashians?
Do you know this story, Cece?
I do.
Okay. Do I get to tell them that?
Well, I think you should.
Okay. So let's be real. Everybody gets Botox at 23. So I was getting Botox and the chick that does my Botox was like, yeah, I know the Kardashians. And I was like, yeah, so do I. Obviously I didn't, but she's like, well, I really know them. And I didn't, like, honestly, I did not believe her. I was like, okay, like,
This is
all
LA.
right.
People. Welcome to LA.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. And then she like texted me later and she was like, hey babe, like I'm gonna see Kim like this weekend. Like if you just wanted to get any product, like to any of them. And I'm like, either this like chick is like off her rocker or like she's actually friends with the Kardashians and like friends with them really well. But like I had no idea. So I was like, well, I mean, I send so much free product. I might as well, like, this is really no different. So I made like these gift bags for everybody and they were getting ready to head to Thailand. And this was like Kim's like first like post North trip, I guess, like with the whole family. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I mean, okay. So lo and behold, I went and dropped off a ton of bikinis for all the girls. And like next thing I know, it's like a week later and they're in Thailand. And Kim was shooting all the content for her selfie book. And mind you, our website had launched in January and this is like the middle of March. And we are literally like, our website is crashing. This has been like, everyone is calling us that we're selling like $40,000 in product a day.
Wow.
We had to like stop. We had to like basically like not like we had to like freeze our website because we couldn't keep up with the demand. But it was like 4 days straight of all of the well, everyone except Chloe wearing chaos. And I was like, what the heck is happening? Like, this is wild. So just, if somebody says they know somebody, just take my advice, believe them.
Right. You never know. I mean, it really wasn't going to hurt you to do it since
No,
you
and like
were giving. Go
that's
ahead.
what Tess and I said. We're like, I mean, what is our cost? Like, our cost here is like $1,000. Like, the product is already made, so we might as well just like send it and like pray for the best.
Right. So I'm gonna go back and unpack a little bit more because your answers are so chock full. I love it, but we need to unpack a little.
I'm sorry. You should know that I'm like,
I do know that's great. Okay, so um how many sample, I mean, how much product did you have at this point? How much merchandise did you make in your first run? Because this was like so let me just actually make this a little bit of an easier question. How many styles did you have? And then how did you decide how you wanted to break that up into sizing?
I think we had like 8 styles
Mm.
and then maybe 3 colorways each. And then so the industry standard is basically a 1-2-2-1, which is like 1 extra small, 2 medium, 1 large. So you kind of produce, so it's like if you're going to produce 10 smalls, you produce 5 extra smalls. So when we first started, we were just producing, I want to say we were producing like a 9, 18, 18, 9 of each color. So we didn't even have, like, per style, we didn't even have 100 units.
So when you don't have 100 units, and you are giving away, I mean, all of those girls that
Yeah.
all of those influencers are all in the small, extra small range. I mean, none of them are in the medium, large range, right? So you're
And
giving away lots of product at this point, selling none of it because you haven't even launched your website. We haven't even gotten to the point where, like, what about, what about buyers? So at this point, you're giving away potentially really lucrative product. How much did you decide you were going to be giving away, or were you not thinking about that yet?
so we had, sorry, I'm like remembering things about
Yeah.
it. We always produced additional units for influencers.
Okay.
So we would do like our run that we were going to put on our website, and then we would produce like an additional 5 smalls or whatever it was. Because we knew that we would give away we would give away all of our smalls right away.
Right. And then were you in a position where your manufacturer could make small runs for you so that if you needed
Yes.
extra, then you could just go ahead and get extra?
Yes, and that is what's really another like really great feature, and not feature, like another really great reason to manufacture domestically. Like, there is no way that I would have been able to produce product quickly if I was overseas, or be like, oh my gosh, I need X, Y, and Z ASAP. They'd be like, okay, well, unless you're putting in like minimum 500 units, like we're not even worth their time.
Right. It's also good to point out that your suits are not or at least that first collection was all just a basic color. You didn't do any prints on the first collection, right? So it wasn't like you had to create your own you didn't have
Correct.
to do a custom print or anything. So that also made it easier because if you needed to do anything like custom, that probably would have made it more difficult.
Yeah, that would have added like a completely like different factor to things. We didn't start with prints until our second season, and it still took us some time to like learn how to deal with that.
Right. So, but because everything was one color, you were able to make those adjustments really easy. And do you think that's a good, like if somebody's going into like apparel of some sort, it's a, would you say that that's a good recommend to start with, something like that so that you can make those first adjustments in that first season before you go into like adding a dimension of prints?
Absolutely. I think until you really have honed in on what exactly it is that you are doing, and you can get a better feel for your customer. Like, we didn't start adding prints until people were asking, do you guys have prints? Like, are you going to add more colors? And we're like, okay, well, there's a want and there's a need for this. So now we could explore this territory.
Right. Okay, so now you've got so did you guys design the website on your own or did you hire somebody?
No, we did it on our own.
And what platform did you use?
Shopify.
Shopify. That's a good one. That's a really easy one.
It's so easy to use.
And then did you have a fulfillment factory or did you do all the fulfillment yourself?
You're talking to her. I did it all myself.
What?
I said, you're talking to her. I did it all myself.
I'm talking to the fulfillment manager right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just explain? I'm assuming people probably know, but just in case, what is fulfillment? So, and what are the options?
Well, it definitely, like, in the beginning, it was really easy. Like, we would just go ahead and have online orders. So you would just print our label, put it in an envelope, whatever, ship it out. Super easy. But then as we started getting into retailers, each retailer has like a whole, like, I want to say it was like the same week I got a like fulfillment kind of like packet from Revolve, Lulu's, Urban, and PacSun. And they all have different ways to pack. They all have different ways to fold the product. Each of them have to come in like different size bags. Revolve is like by far the easiest, but you have to print barcodes. So like I had to learn how to make barcodes and print them and like buy the machine to do that. And then same with Lulu's, they're pretty standard, but then PacSun and Urban Outfitters run EDI, which is basically like a high-end barcoding system that allows you that like fully, I don't really know. Do you know what EDI is?
You better tell people.
I don't know how to explain it easily though. It's like basically
it's like electronic inventory.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. So electronic inventory that is tracked from like my fulfillment center, which was our office, to the next warehouse, and like each scan, and like on the outside of the boxes, you could scan that barcode and you know like exactly what's in it. Where like Revolve, I would just write like Hampton Tops, like KO's Hampton Tops, KO7B. And then like PacSun, it's like this whole barcode that goes on the outside and they scan that. And then all that, like that barcode holds information that 100 of those units are going to their fulfillment center in Kansas. Another 100 are going to the fulfillment center in Oakland. 24 of those pieces are going to a store in Miami. The other 24 are going to a store in, I don't even know, Arizona, like wherever it is. So it's just like, but then each piece is tagged. So it definitely gets like a little tricky. Especially, but having like somebody run your fulfillment center is also really pricey. And we were very cheap and like and just because we were trying to grow and not spend money where it wasn't completely necessary yet. So And I also am a firm believer in like really understanding how things work before you pass that task on to somebody else.
Yeah. But it's
So
but isn't it so time consuming? I mean,
it is so time consuming.
yeah.
So time consuming. I had a lot of really great interns though.
But what happens if it gets done wrong? Do they return the product?
And then they charge you.
And then they charge you. So if it's done incorrectly, it is, it can be
If it
cost.
does incorrectly, you get a charge back.
Yeah, so it's important that people do understand how it's done. But you're right, it is also important that you know how to do it, because if your fulfillment team doesn't do it correctly, then and you pay so much money for a fulfillment center, then the pricing of that fulfillment center, if you get a charge back because the fulfillment center didn't do it right, it is crazy. Like there are people who lose their businesses because of those chargebacks. So it's
Yeah.
really important to understand everything that goes into that. All like it's really minutia, but it's really important minutia.
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally.
okay, at this point, you're still like you're 3 months in, you've just graduated college. you're you're
Trying to
making
have a social life.
whatever. That part is not even necessary. You can't.
I know.
Um
I know. I'm
you're
aware.
making $40,000 a day sales. You are you're getting calls from Us Weekly and People. The Kardashians are wearing your suits. Are you at this point thinking, I want to go I want to start hitting up buyers?
Yes. So with the like all the Kardashian buzz, it really put us on the forefront, like in like the buyer's eye, like we were definitely like worthy. Um, which was great because that just like it put them in our realm of things. So we did a little bit of like research on our own, kind of started reaching out to buyers. And then I think that is when I went to Swim Week, right?
Um,
Or
yeah.
did I not go to Swim Week until 2014?
Oh my God, I can't remember years. I'm old.
See,
I
I'm
think it,
old.
I think it was your it was your second collection.
No, it was 13. It was 13.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I didn't meet you until 2014 though.
No, I was there after you launched, but because you already had the Kardashian images,
Mm.
but it but I think it was, so it must have been we were showing your second collection.
Yeah.
It had to have been.
I don't remember. But I don't because I don't think my first runway show though was till 15.
Oh, well, no, so it had
Yeah,
to, yeah.
okay.
I
Yeah. So
didn't
that
meet you till
makes
the
sense. So
runway.
we
Yeah.
did because we did two shows. So we did two trade shows, and obviously that's where we really got the handle on our buyers, and we got to meet a lot of people face to face. And then so then in 2015 we did our first runway. That
Okay.
makes sense.
So tell me how you went about, so the first show you did was Rick's show, right?
Right. Hammock.
And everyone knows that because Rick spoke last week.
Oh, interesting. How is he doing?
He's doing well. So this is a really fun thing for me because I just have all of my friends speak. So this and I interview all of my friends.
Wait, is he in New York or is he in Miami?
He's actually
Half and half.
west. He's out by LA now.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, okay, that's a different conversation. We can talk about that later. So anyway, back to you.
So confused.
So you did so to get ready for your trade show, did you know which particular stores you wanted to be in, and did you make those calls and contacts um before you had before you got to the show?
Yes and no. We knew what stores we wanted to be into or be in. And obviously we did a lot of our like reaching out prior, but there's obviously, this, but there are so many brands that go to these shows that I think so many people just get flooded, buyers just get flooded with emails. So we kind of took a step back. We said, okay, like we want to leave here with Revolve. I think Revolve, Lulu's. I honestly forget what like our first stores that like we really wanted to push for were, but
Diane's.
Diane's. And if any of you guys are from Southern California, you know that Diane's is like very staple for us. So we knew we wanted like these stores and we would reach out to them. And I know we got like some reply or like, okay, cool. Like what showroom are you in? Like we'll stop by, but like no appointments, just like, yeah, like, well, like when it's convenient for us. So we knew that it was like our job to go into these trade shows, which are very costly, to go in with like really strong product, really great imagery, a great model, like a fit model in the room so they could try on these different styles, to have a curated space for people to be in, and for us to just like really believe in ourselves and our product and like sell it to them face to face.
Yes, and I will also add this part. Um, Allie and Tess, and especially Allie, I mean, Tess obviously isn't here. The thing about their partnership is that Tess is much quieter, but Allie is obviously, very friendly, super gregarious, and a real charming person. And to know the buyers love to get to know the the founders of the brand. They, because you can hire a sales rep to actually sell your garments. And eventually Allie and Allie did have a showroom selling for her. But I think, Allie, you can attest to this, the best that you have ever sold is when you sell it yourself.
Absolutely. And with that too, you get to hear a lot of firsthand feedback, and people, you get to see like expressions. Like I like am like the queen of facial expressions. So you like just like you can totally catch my vibe like super easy and be like, okay, she is not into that. And it's like not intentional. Like I don't even know that I'm doing this. So being there in front of these people, selling to them and showing them our products and talking about it, and like really seeing like, did they light up? Like, did they look excited? Like, were they like, oh, let me see that. Let me touch that. Let me feel that. Or were they just like, okay, next, like, whatever, like, it's nice. So it's like getting to see these buyers in person, and like, you learn so much too. You also like hear feedback like, oh, well, we were just like at Frankie's and Beach Riot, and like we already got our red over there. And I'm like, okay, take note. Frankie's and Beach Riot are producing all red this year. Like, so you get to hear, and it's not like buyers are coming in and like talking crap about other brands, but they're like, okay, well, like, or like Frankie's did red better. Totally. I get it. Like, that's why she is who she is. She's great at what she does. So hearing that feedback though definitely helps you understand like your product and why it's working and why it's not working and what they want to see. Or you'll hear somebody say like, oh, if this drop was just like a quarter of an inch thicker, like it would really be like better for our bigger busted girls. And you're like, okay, take note of that. Like they're looking for something that is going to fit this customer. So that one-on-one, not even one-on-one, but that personal like chatter and like seeing these people in person rather than through a computer screen or rather through just emails 100% changes your selling game.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so what do you think was it that because you said yourself there are so many brands out there. I mean, how many brands between, between Cabana Swim Show um and uh and Hammock. I mean, it's a congested market. What do you think it was about Chaos that really that caught people's attention? What would you say was your, you know, what made you guys special? What do you think it is that people loved?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
You don't know the magic sauce so that you can replicate it?
I'm trying to figure it out. Um, I think that we were, I mean, I don't know. I'm like really biased too. So it's like, I think that like we had some really great styles. And so like backtracking a little bit, I'm 5'8". I like am a large bottom, medium top. Tess is 4'11" and like a small. So every time we were making something, we wanted to make sure that it looked good on both of us. So we put a lot of time and effort and money and all the things that come with creating our styles and our fits to fit multiple body types. And this isn't and like this isn't a blow to like any other brands by any means, but like there is somebody like Francesca who caters to very like majority of the things that she makes cater to the extra small, and you would just have to be well rounded. And I think that's why we did so well with some of our bigger retailers, is because they could really sell our product to all the sizes that they cater to, and that they weren't stuck with a ton of medium and larges left over. And we also pushed a lot of body positivity. So we had like full size models like walk our runway and like things like that too, because we saw the bigger picture that like you have like people are going to continue to buy swimwear, and we wanted them to be comfortable and feel comfortable and look good and like have that confidence. And we always kept that in mind when we were creating.
Absolutely.
So
Sorry,
that definitely helped. I mean, I think that like that full picture that we were able to paint definitely like kept our buyers coming back and kept our followers loyal. And yeah, I don't really know what else.
yeah. Also, I mean, you sell separates. So
Yes.
that really also helps a lot. It's a really nice opportunity for people who are different, who may be different on the top and bottom, to have that versatility. So another really nice thing. So let's move to, when did you decide that you wanted to do runway? And why? Why did you decide you wanted to do runway? Not everyone does runway.
Probably because you called and told me I needed to do runway.
It was all me. Well, you did need to do runway because my God, it changed everything. But so
I don't know. I mean, I think that was a goal that Tess and I had set for ourselves. We were going to swim week. We were going to like the mecca of the swimwear industry. And if we weren't going to actually like go like show what we could do and like what we're capable of and like how like badass our brand can be, then like there was kind of no point in continuing to do these shows. Like we could continue, like we can do trade shows in LA and realistically see a lot of the same buyers. So unless we were going to go and really like set our goals high and put ourselves on a pedestal, there wasn't a reason for us to be in Miami.
Yeah. But I think you and I can, we can definitely say that the runway shows were, I mean, and that had a lot to do with the two of you. The creativity that you put into the shows was unbelievable. Just the
Thank
energy.
you. Thank
Yes,
you.
I mean, for sure. Come on. The energy that was there,
Yeah.
there were, I mean, 1,000 people out there on the on the pool. So the runway shows that the girls did were, um, it was a runway that was set up on that it looked as if the models were walking on
Well,
water. And so it was a really exciting experience, and we were able to actually fit in almost 1,000 people in these shows. And you had you guys put together the music, you guys put together an amazing set of models. You used a lot of your influencer models as your
mhm.
models. So tell us about the first one. Let's talk about that first show.
My gosh, it feels like it was so long ago. Um, I don't know how many of you guys have been to Miami,
I
but
don't think any of them have been to Miami.
oh,
I mean, I
don't.
don't think any
Just
of them
kidding.
have been to a runway. So, I mean, not like this. So you'll have to just paint the picture. We should have, we should have done a roll tape kind of thing, but next time.
No, shoot. Okay. So basically, you go in to this and you're like, Cece would tell me, like, okay, we have X amount of guests we need here and this and that and whatever it is. And like, you girls are responsible for like X, Y, and Z. So we would create, remember when we were like creating our first show, we didn't know like what we wanted to do. Like, we didn't know if we wanted it to be loud, like if in terms of like styles and like you can definitely see the progression from like our first show to like we did a Wild Wild West theme. We did like all like lace or not lace, like leather and like fishnet one. Where it's like so we kind of pulled in so much more than swimwear. Um, but our first show, like I don't it was like a glitter theme. Do you remember this? Remember we did like all the glitter in their hair?
Yes. And the thing
And
is,
it was like
people loved
very
it.
low
Like,
key.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was one of those it was one of those shows that people just really loved to photograph, and because it photographed so well, it got into so many different publications because it just had that it had that special moment. People just were like, it was just magical. So
Yeah.
a unicorn moment with it. So, and I think that's true of all the shows you did. That was so definitely true of the leather and lace show that you guys did, and the cowboy
Yeah.
show. And then,
I think though that like thinking back to our first show, I remember it was like 8 p.m. I
yeah,
think it was an 8 p.m. show. And it was Friday night. I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, but like I definitely, we were like the opening act. Like, and then Frankie was after us, and I was like, I am never opening the set because it's like shows at the W, they kind of start and then they go all night. And I guess we were the second show. But I was like, I am never doing this again. I am never opening a show again. We are closing this down. And like that, it was my goal for next year. So we had really great success. Um, I remember, I don't know if you were on this phone call,
I'm on
Cece.
all the IMG phone calls.
Okay, so do you remember our first show? Rick had called me and tried to convince me to not do the wet deck and that I should do the smaller pool. And he was like, I just like don't think that you girls can pull 600. And
Oh, no, I wasn't on that one.
I
Well,
think it
yeah.
was like, and I was so discouraged. Well, I wasn't even, I was like really discouraged and angry. And then I was like, F this. We going and we going big. So we did it. And I remember, I think we had like 650 people or something. And I just remember like walking up to Rick after and I was like, what a turnout, huh? And he just smiled and he was like, yeah, like you got it, kid. And I'm like, I know. Thank you so much. But then at that point, each year I was like, we have to do bigger and we have to do better. So our next year we did our lace. I don't know why I keep saying lace because there was no lace. Our leather runway. And I think that was our biggest show.
Yes, because then it moved from the W. So
Yeah.
then we had to go into a different venue. But I will say that, you know, it was, the shows were always great, and it was, so we should also say it's really expensive. Would you say that the
You
expense was
guys
worth
don't
it for you
even
guys?
know. It's so
What?
expensive. It's so expensive.
Yeah. But in terms
$100,000
of your,
to do.
in terms of your ROI, what did what would you suggest to a designer that when they get to a certain time in their careers that it's something that they should do?
Absolutely. I think that it puts you, it really helps you understand your worth in the industry. It is like such a high to see these people like cheering for you and cheering for your success. And it just gives you like, I remember the first time I walked out and I was like, because we don't see our runways. We only see them from a little computer screen in the back. So it's like, even though I knew that there were a lot of people out there, to like walk out and there were hundreds of people out there and like we had like a standing ovation and like we just like stood there in the middle of this runway, like what just happened? And it like really, it gives you like a whole nother push and like perspective, and it makes like all the money spent and all the hard work and all the time, it makes it worth it because you like you like there, I guess you just see how people are like proud of your accomplishments and like they want to support you and whatnot. um Again, like I can tell you it's freaking pricey, but it is so worth it, and it really shifted how we were viewed by our buyers and put us on more platforms. We had so much press always after our shows, and it just opened the eyes to like more international stores and to other influencers and to a lot of smaller stores, and boutique stores are really important to have. Like as important as Revolve is, having a boutique store that just has one store in, like Redondo Beach, like where I live, like they're like so loyal to you and they come back and they support you and they pay their bills on time. And for them to have like this imagery and to share with their clientele and their customers what the brands that they're putting in their store are worth is like pretty much like speaks volumes for itself.
Um, yeah, that's amazing. What would you say is one of the biggest like one of the biggest issues, like in terms of problems with running, a brand like yours?
I mean, like I'm pretty hands-on. Um And I like to like have my hands in everything. And I don't really understand, and like till this day, like how to give up any control in any aspects of my life. So I think that like understanding like my worth as an owner and like the valuable things that I need to do for the success and like building a team. We've had a lot of great people on our team, but I would never let them like fully, it's not that like I don't trust anybody, but I would just be like, okay, well, like I can do it. Like, oh, okay, like it's fine. I got it. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, so it's really hard for me to like fully let somebody in,
Mhm.
I guess. Um, because, and again, like it's not because I think I can do it better. It's just because like I want to do it. Like I want to be on the forefront. Like I like love to jump on and like talk to customers about customer service and like help them with a return. I'm like, no, like you don't need to spend your time doing that. Like you have somebody that can do that. Like you need to go be doing X, Y, and Z to like build your brand and like further the brand and all of those things. So that is something that's always been really difficult for me,
Yeah.
is to understand like when it like enough is enough, and to like my plate doesn't always have to be full and like overflowing all the time, that I just need to be giving 100%. And like when it is overflowing, I'm not giving 100%
You need
to
to
the things that
delegate.
need 100% of my attention.
Yeah, you needed to learn how to delegate more.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, it's important to grow.
I
And
know.
what do you think is the most important thing you did to grow your brand?
Mm, probably hiring a sales rep.
You do think that hiring what's her name was important? Because I feel like you
Yeah.
still did all the sales yourself. That's part of the delegating, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I I just think that like having somebody spend like, I don't know. I do think it's really important to have a sales rep though. It also gives, it like kind of helps you. I don't want to like, I don't know, like a nicer way of saying like kind of cutting out the bullshit, but like they kind of like filter things. And then you can learn how to like, and then you could kind of figure out what stores are really important, or like who is going to need X more amount of time and attention. And they could send samples out as well. And they'll have, and like some people are, sales reps are really well connected. So she would say like, oh, hey, I have this friend that's going to Hawaii for like the Hawaii rep show, and they want to see like whatever store. Like I'm going to send her off with some samples. If she like opens a store, like she'll get the commission on the first order. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, so their connections and their industry alone helps you reach a whole nother like a whole nother side.
Right. We have a question here that says, did the problem with Zahara Zaful change the way you operate at all? I don't know what that means. Does that
Yes,
ring any bells to you?
100%. 100%. So,
Can you explain?
yes. So Zoffel and all these, and like Shein and all these brands, that's like who would knock us off.
Okay.
So our Hampton Salty, you could find, and I'm like to this day, 100 different colors on some of these sites for like $14.99. So, and it's not just us, it's every single contemporary swimwear brand that has felt this. So you could definitely, yeah, we definitely all felt it. It has been a huge, each spring break, you know, we really rely on like spring break sales to help push us through our summer. And it was like 2018-19 that we saw huge dips in sales. And a lot of our other friends in the industry as well. But there's
Yeah.
also nothing we can do about it because of trademarking laws and copywriting. it's super minimal about what we can do about people knocking us off, especially because none of these stores are domestic. They're all overseas. It kind of just completely screws us.
Yeah. So it's mostly like China, and they can just look at the, they don't, and the fit is terrible. I mean, the actual
Yeah.
product it's is horrible. It's not about that. But if if you looking for cheap suits that you're going to wear for like a day and they're going to absolutely dissolve, I guess people, it's horrible. Yeah, it is
Right.
absolutely ruining the market. And you know somebody also asked, did you actually sew your garments when first starting? If so, when did you stop and gain a team? But you didn't.
We did not. We
Yeah.
did not. We fully had them sewn from the get-go.
And then do you integrate TikTok at all into your marketing or no?
No.
Do you like TikTok?
Do I like TikTok?
Hmm.
I'm very confused by TikTok.
Yeah, you haven't caught on to the
No.
fever for the flavor?
I'm just really still trying to figure out how these girls are making millions of dollars on TikTok.
Hmm.
Um, it really is one of those platforms that is aging me. Um, but
Shame on you.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'll like scroll through TikTok but I'm always just like so confused. I'm like, how does this video have over 1 million views? Um, but there's definitely a huge market. If we were first starting KO, if I was starting KOs today, it would probably be my number one platform to use.
Yeah, I agree. The way that Instagram was, that's what
Totally.
TikTok, yeah, that's what TikTok is now.
Yes.
Um, Zachary asked, what do you look for in a manufacturer? What kind of lead times, volumes, and costing?
I mean, those are just kind of, I think those questions are something that you have to know what you're looking for. Like, am I looking for, or like you're looking for somebody that can turn products around in 30 days. You're looking for, you need your cost to fit $8 to $12. Like, so you have to go in and ask this manufacturer if they fit your needs
Yeah.
rather
Uh,
than, and like, there is a lot of, leadway in terms of like what people or like what manufacturers will do, I guess. And like what deals they're trying to make. Like, we were continuously able to drop our prices over the years with our manufacturer as we added on more units. And that was something that like we continued, like we would do like 2,500 units of the salty bottom, and then I would tell her like, okay, we've got to the point where since last season we've doubled, like we have to drop our price. And she'd be like, but it's like kind of one of those things where you can like continue to kind of push push the envelope a little bit. If they're making 2,500 pieces rather than say 1,200, they're still making good money. But one thing I have learned is that you never want to push the envelope too far that somebody loses respect for you.
that's good. I mean, that's good advice. I kind of wanted to end it off on any other like takeaways that one really great piece of advice. I mean, first, just to to remind you, not everybody here is looking to be a designer. Some people are in visual merchandising. Some people are writers, like, or in the communications and PR department, and and fashion is their minor. But like in general, any sort of overall business advice, or that you would want to end this on as a takeaway for everyone, sort of life lesson learned.
I mean, I guess life lesson learned is and I'm sure this is something you guys hear all of the time, but trust me when I tell you that nobody else's opinion matters. Literally nobody else's opinion matters. If somebody's going to tell you like, oh my gosh, fashion, like my brother was like, fashion, like, who do you think you are? Like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, okay,
And
and like I had friends that were like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you really want to get into that? Like, I don't know. And then like, just kind of seems like a risk. Well, like like I was so young that like taking a risk was completely worth it because I was so young that I was willing to take a risk. Um, but on the other end, it's like if you have a passion for it and like you really want to do something, then you're only going to regret it if you don't. Like if I would have listened to the opinions that people told me and like what my friends said and even like negative like I had a few professors at FITM that were just like, oh, like I wouldn't start my own brand. Like you should just go work for somebody. Like it's really difficult. Like if I would have listened to them, like I wouldn't be where I am today. But I let all of that negativity be the driving force behind my success.
it's funny because 2 weeks ago we had a wonderful speaker who did give them that advice. And I think what I would say is listen to your inner voice, because if you think you're ready and prepared, I mean, I think one of the takeaways should also be that Allie really prepared. She didn't just sort of fly off the seat of her pants. She really did put together a business plan, and she had, facts and figures. It wasn't like she went into it like she wanted it, but she also really, created something that made sense, because nobody was going to give her $60,000 without there being something substantial, to go behind. So if
Totally.
what's that?
I said completely. Like if you don't, it's like you just have to be like your biggest fan, essentially.
Yeah. We have 3 more minutes, and so there were two new questions that popped up. I was going to let you go, but now I'm not.
Okay. Just about to take my free workout. Oh,
When
and continue to work out when you have a business. Trust me, it's like it's the thing that like made me sane. But go on.
again, LA, whatever. Um, when you bought your fabric at the fashion district, did you know what fabric you were looking for, or were you ever overwhelmed with the amount of fabric you were finding?
We knew what we were looking for in terms of fabrication. So that really allowed us to kind of like hone in on everything. So like we knew we were looking for nylon spandex. So that basically moves us down to like 10 different places to find fabric. So it definitely made it a little bit easier, but yes, the color cards and stuff we would get, there would be like 300 colors. And I'd be like, okay, cool. I don't know what I want.
Yeah, that's hard. Do you think if you were starting today, you would have gone, because you guys were not eco when you started, and I know that that's because of the pricing. You still had to be within a certain price point, because you had to make a choice for manufacturing in the US, and at some point there are choices you have to make. If you were doing it today, would you also make the choice to be eco sustainable?
Would we be eco if we started today?
Yeah,
Honestly,
honestly.
no.
Okay. That's fair.
Um, I could, and I say that coming from the standpoint of seeing my friends that do have eco businesses, and that again, like this isn't a blow at anybody, but I think unless you're going all in, that you can't consider yourself eco. If your manufacturer isn't like eco-friendly, but your fabric is, I don't think that makes you eco-friendly.
Mhm.
If your fabric or is eco-friendly, but your packaging isn't, and you still send stuff out in a plastic bag, to me, that doesn't make you eco-friendly.
Right.
So unless you're in 100%, then, which is difficult, it's really difficult to do here. Um, then I don't think that it's worth it.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. That's and then you're talking about a completely different cost analysis of your company, because that's to be completely eco that way, and then how are you delivering the product? Is that eco? There's a whole other that there's a whole other way that you
Aspect.
need to to calculate that.
Yeah.
Caitlin is asking, how did you know manufacturing was the outlet you wanted to take? Caitlin, I'm not sure what that means. Are you there? Caitlin? I'm not sure. Well, in any case, since she's not answering, I'm just going to say thank you, Allie, so much. This was so informative, and I'm sure that everyone would have loved to see you and say thank you for everything, because this was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes,
And
of course. You can give them my email or whatever if anybody has questions for me, or my Instagram, whatever works for you
perfect.
guys. I could actually, you want me just to put that in the chat?
Yeah, would you put it in the chat? That would be amazing. And
Um,
then we'll put it on we'll try to put this on YouTube also, so that we just have it up for our fashion students, because that way they can come back to it and listen to it if they like, because not everybody can always get away at this particular. It's 4:30. No, what time is it? I don't know what time. Yeah, it's 4:30 in Arizona. I and then a lot more fashion people can, fashion students can hear your amazing advice, because it really is. So I
of
hope you can come back and
course. I
come back
learned
and do this
everything from
again.
you.
Aw, you're the best.
You
The
are the
little
best,
sister I didn't have. I adore you.
right? Likewise. Okay, well, I
All right.
just dropped my email and my Instagram handle. So if you guys have any questions or whatnot, feel free to reach out to me, send me an email, send me a DM, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Thanks, Sunny. Talk to you
Of
soon.
course. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll stay on here in case any of you guys want to talk to me. So I'm on here until y'all are gone.
What if I want to talk to you?
Oh, well,
Kidding.
you can DM me. You can
I'll,
text
I'll call you later.
me. Okay.
Actually, I'll call you later this week. I'm heading to the gym.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.